Josh Vecchio, mortgage broker with Hunter Galloway. In this video, I'm going to be looking at everything to do with building and pest inspections. Because if you don't want to end up getting another loan to fix your home, then this video is exactly for you. So stay tuned. 1. What is a building and pest inspection? It's a report which looks at both current and future potential problems, focusing on the condition of the building and identifying any pest issues. 2. At what stage of the home buying process should you get a building and pest inspection? If you're going to auction, you'll want to arrange this prior to the auction date. And just a word of warning here, some real estate agents can offer a free building and pest report. Don't fall for this trap. As the saying goes, there's no free lunch. Remember that the real estate agent works for the seller, not you. So you might find that their inspector finds minor issues when in reality they're major. And it's essential, if you are arranging your building and pest inspection, that it be done by an independent contractor, not recommended by the real estate agent, who is working for you and looking out for your best interest. And if you're in a hot market, putting conditions in your offer can reduce the attractiveness. You may consider completing the building and pest inspection before making an offer, and thereby allowing you to remove this as a condition. In all other instances, before signing a contract, you want to include a condition which protects you in the event that the report comes back a bust. And here's some example wording we found on NAB's website. The contract is conditional upon the purchasers obtaining, at their expense, a building inspection report accepted as satisfactory by them within 7 days of acceptance of this contract. If the report is not to the purchaser's satisfaction, the purchaser may, at their discretion, terminate the contract by written notice supported by a copy of the report to the vendor's agent prior to 7 days from acceptance. And in some states, the building and pest clause is a part of the contract. A great conveyancer will review your contract before signing and ensure that you understand what you're agreeing to and signing your life away. 3. How much does it cost for a building and pest inspection? A building inspection for a 4-bedroom home will cost around $400 to $500, and a separate pest inspection between $200 to $300. Now, the good news is if you combine the two, you can save a couple $100. So depending on the company, most will be able to bundle them together and will set you back between $500 to $600 for the combo. 4. Are building and pest inspections even worth it? In my opinion, they're worth every dollar you spend. Think about it just for a moment. You're going to spend $600 versus hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that the property has no issues. I mean, when it's put that way, it makes sense. The other reason building and pest inspections are totally worth it is because they ensure other structures around the property comply with building bylaws. And an example of this is that you may have bought a property because it has a lovely enclosed patio that you're thinking to turn into a home office or a second room. Then a week later, once you've moved in, you're served with a demolition notice from the council because it doesn't comply to a building approval. A building and pest inspection will help avoid this mistake, identifying areas you need to investigate more, giving you insights on the searches you need to complete with your conveyancer. A great building and pest inspection will also highlight hazards such as asbestos or beams that may give way. So what even happens at a building and pest inspection? The inspection is completed both inside and outside the property, and it includes reviewing many things such as cracks on the walls, floors, joinings and roof, checking underneath the house, looking for moisture, turning on all the taps on and off, opening all the windows and doors, testing fans, checking if there's any leakages, looking at the garage and reviewing all environmental issues. They do more than this, but that's just a bit of a flavor for what they look at. For many homes, one of the things you really want to make sure of is whether the property has termites, as these pests can go undetected for years and cause an alarming amount of damage. Each inspector has different things they'll cover or won't cover. And what you want to do is you want to make sure you speak to your inspector beforehand so you understand what they're going to be doing at your inspection. And if your inspector flags critical issues, they may let you know that you'll need to get a further assessment from an expert such as a plumber or an electrician to get the full gist of what's going on. So how long does an inspection actually take? A physical inspection will take between 1 to 2 hours depending on the size of the property. And even though building inspectors know what to look out for, the process for checking everything takes time. and you'd really rather one that takes longer than shorter. Some inspectors and companies do require a few days' notice before completing the inspection. So this is an essential factor, especially if you've signed a contract and only have a few days to complete. So keep this in mind. After an inspection, it can take between 24 to 48 hours for their report to be issued with their findings. What I'd strongly recommend you do is be at the inspection when it takes place. Once it's completed, ask the inspector to walk you through their report. You'll get more information in this 5-minute chat with the inspector than you will reading their 40-page dossier. And if you ask nicely, the inspector will also give you a rough estimate on how much it'll cost to fix those issues raised. And unless the property is brand new, expect there to be both major and minor issues. 7. What about a new home? Should I get an inspection on a newly built property? And even though new homes may not need a building and pest report, always be cautious about shoddy workmanship. The building industry is poorly regulated, and there are many horror stories of people finding defects after the building's been complete. So in the place of the building and pest inspection, what I'd recommend you do is get a defect or handover inspection, which is specifically designed to identify minor defects of quality and workmanship of imperfection. Pricing for these reports range from $400 to $800, and if you're building a new property, it's highly recommended to complete before handover. 8. Okay, so let's say that the inspectors found some issues with the property. Does the seller have to fix them? Unfortunately, no, they don't. There's no law that requires a seller to fix the property, even if the inspection finds that half the building is about to cave in. Who pays for what depends on what the buyer and seller decides after the inspection is completed. And remember, it's all a negotiation. And when I was buying my first home, I fell in love with the property in Salisbury, but the pest inspection showed that there was activities of termites. The good news was that it was contained and could be easily fixed. I was happy with the price, happy with the property, and would have bought it if the owner fixed the problem, but they refused, so I had to let it go. And is an example of what can happen when issues are found with a building and pest inspection. Can you negotiate a home price after the inspection? Of course you can. And it's one of the primary reasons of getting the building and pest inspection in the first place. Because if you get an unsatisfactory building and pest report, you have one of 3 options. First option is you can crash the contract, and I really recommend this if you find major structural issues with the property, or if you find the cost of the issues to repair are outside your budget. Secondly, you can ask the seller to fix the defects found, but this doesn't always work. And finally, you can negotiate a reduction in the way of a purchase price. And we saw this recently with one of our clients. Their building and pest report came back with some minor issues. After talking to the builder, they realized that it cost between $2,000 to $3,000 to fix. Our clients use this as a negotiating tool to get $10,000 off their purchase price. Remember that if a report is done correctly by a building and pest inspector, it's really going to give you a competitive edge when negotiating. And if you are looking to negotiate, here are a few quick tips. Be reasonable. Don't threaten to terminate the contract because of a missing door handle. Also, give the sellers adequate time to evaluate their building and pest report. Make sure you're clear on what you want. What do you want the vendor to do? And do you want them to fix a defect or give you a discount or a little of both? The more specific and the more detailed you can be with what you're after, the more likely you are to receive the outcome you're after. 10. How do I go about renegotiating once I've got my building and pest inspection? Firstly, you want to assess the issues covered in the report and the cost it's likely to fix. With this being said, you probably want to keep the minor things out of the issues log. So if it's a leaky faucet or missing door handle, probably remove, as you want to focus on the things that actually account for a decent size of the money and that will be considered reasonable by the seller. Secondly, you want to look at the market. Is it a seller's market or is it a buyer's market? Are there thousands of people looking to buy this property, or is it just yourself? Because depending on those 2 things will depend on how hard you go out with your renegotiations. And finally, in your response to the seller, you want to include the details about the issues found in the report and the approximate cost to fix it. With this, look to request an appropriate reduction in price accordingly. If the seller agrees to the lower price, you need to let your lender know as soon as possible, since they may need to reassess your application based on the new purchase price. And a heads up, it's probably wise before you do anything to talk to your banker or broker to see how much time they're going to need to reassess the application if that is the case, and whether or not you should extend your finance and settlement terms. Also, bear in mind that other costs such as stamp duty may not necessarily reduce. So talk to your conveyancer about this also, as depending on how the discount is structured will dictate on whether the stamp duty is also reduced accordingly. 11. We've been talking about negotiating with the seller based on the Building and Pest report, but does this mean the seller gets a copy of this report? The short answer is no, not without your permission. The long answer is that you can share parts of this report to the seller, especially if you're wanting them to fix those things that have been flagged. But ultimately, the report is yours. You paid for it, and you get to choose which sections you share with the seller. Here at Hunter Galloway, we're the home for home buyers. So if you're looking for a great mortgage broker and live in Australia, we can help. Our service is free and we help everyone across Australia. So reach out and visit us online at huntergalloway.com.au or call us on 1300 088 065. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you then.